Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Mind, Your Reality, Your Results, a weekly show where I speak with an expert in the subject of mindset so you can change your mindset and ultimately get the amazing results you want in your life. If we haven't met before, my name's Leah Fink. I'm the owner and founder of All Thrive, and I help protect people from the pain of damaged relationships. If you want to chat about that, I would love to connect. But today, I am thrilled to be joined by Michael, who is a fantastic expert in the subject of networking. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you. Glad to be on here.
Awesome. Well, you guys won't want to miss the chance to take advantage of Michael and his wisdom. So if you are watching the show and have any questions or comments, please feel free to put those in the chat. Also, if you are watching the show and we're not live anymore, please feel free to put those questions and comments in there and we can make sure to get back to you. So, as I always like to start out, Michael, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you became the guy who knows a guy?
All right. Well, so my superhero origin story, you mean?
Totally.
Well, it all began with a visit to a secret government networking lab where I pricked my finger on a radioactive business card and woke up the morning with strange powers. It's not actually my story, but it's a great opening, isn't it?
It's fantastic.
So my actual story is that in 2014, my fiance at the time and I moved to Groton, Connecticut, knowing absolutely nobody in the entire county. So we decided 7 months earlier to get pregnant and have a baby because things were going great. We're making the most money you ever made. Things were going wonderful, smooth sailing. So this is the time to go into the next phase of life. And over the next 7 months, she quit her job. I got fired from mine, and we moved to a place we'd never even seen before, let alone been. So I had this idea I was going to start a business. That's pretty much a whole business plan. I was going to start like a consulting of some kind business, but I knew I needed a network. I needed to know people to do that. I had some familiarity networking, to been to some BNI meetings, and I jumped in with both feet and turned it up to 11. I went to every business after hours, business before hours, business during hours. I went to every ribbon cutting, hair cutting, line cutting. I would show up for the opening of an envelope. I was there if there were people together. And within 6 to 9 months, I discovered I was actually connecting people of note to other people of note who had lived in the same area for 50 years and never met each other somehow. Because here in New England, people don't like to do things like cross rivers or leave their town. So I could introduce two people on the opposite side of the same river who have never connected with each other. And I would be like the medieval merchant of old who would travel from one kingdom to the next, news of the next kingdom. I come from far away westerly Rhode Island with news and introductions. So then in 2020, there was a small matter of a pandemic, which was a very tragic event for many people. But it also created a lot of opportunities. And one of those was that all the networking went online. And I first realized this when my BNI group went to Zoom, and I realized I bet everyone else's just did too. So if they're all on Zoom now, I drove down to Yonkers once to visit a group, and it was like a 3-hour drive, but it was interesting to visit one far away. Well, now I can visit one the other side of the world on my computer. So I got in touch with some groups in Malaysia and Melbourne, Seattle, various places in Canada, all over the United States, one in England, and started connecting at this higher level. And I was no longer limited to who was living near me in New London County, but who was, anywhere. And my network suddenly moved from, local contractors and local little small businesses to real, people making multi-million-dollar deals and real estate investors and major mindset coaches and people who are doing amazing things. And I was able to start making connections for them and kind of be part of that larger community. And that is how I ended up on this show here, kind of the pinnacle of that entire journey right here with you, Leah.
Well, good to know that I am the pinnacle of your journey. I'm honored. Well, as you guys might have noticed, and I noticed certainly when I first met him, Michael has fantastic energy. And, knowing that you had a passion for networking, for meeting people, that's very much your personality, which we've talked about it, of course, off of this as well. A lot of people don't have that experience. A lot of people, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, maybe first time doing this, are thinking, oh my God, I have to network. It's not, oh my God, I get to go meet people. It's,
Yeah.
So do you want to explain a little bit about, maybe the general things that you hear from people about why networking is hard for them?
Sure. And so actually, I had an epiphany about this about a month ago when I was doing a training for a group of bankers. Now, the average banker has a somewhat different personality to myself. I realized because for me, meeting strangers is the fun part. But during this conversation, a lot of them were asking me either through the feedback from the previous session or in the chat or raising their hands, some variation on. So, what do you say when you meet somebody? Which I realized the subtext of that was not because I like meeting people. I just want to do it better. It was the worst, most awful, unpleasant, and anxiety-inducing part of networking is meeting strangers. How do I make it slightly less awful? Now, I'd never given much thought to how can I network without talking to strangers? That's the fun part, right? For me, just for me. For everyone else, that is not the fun part. And I thought about it, and this is like coming to be on stage, like I'm developing a strategy right there in front of the whole audience. I'm thinking, wait, why do I go to strangers? Because it's fun, because I can go out to the event and drink the wine and eat the hors d'oeuvres and never know who I'm going to meet. Could be an amazing connection. Probably won't be. Could be an amazing connection. Never know. It's like flipping over a card, buying a new lottery ticket. And then I thought, like, where's the real value in networking? It's not walking around with a glass of wine, meeting a total stranger who's going to maybe try to sell you life insurance. That's not the value. The value is in the connections. The value is in saying, oh, you need to meet this person. That's going to be a good connection for you, making that introduction or asking around and saying, hey, can you introduce me to this type of person or to this person? You make this connection for me. That's where the power happens. That's the real value. And one of those introductions could be what you meet 20 strangers to get, or one direct introduction. So I'm sitting here realizing that not only do you not need to meet strangers, but it could almost be a distraction from really effective networking because you're so excited, going out and meeting people that you forget why you're doing it because you're just kind of going out and hanging out at the party.
Well, I love it. Darlene's commenting, you make it sound so much fun, which I do believe it can be. And what I really like about what you're saying is there's obviously an inherent generosity when you go out wanting to, it sounds like go out wanting to meet people and be of service to people, connecting them or supporting them, however, instead of pitching to them. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the fun part of it. And some of what's fun for me is that I'm good at it. So, some of what's fun about networking is I can go into an event and I can create value fairly easily because with experience, I know what to ask. I know how to find out what a good introduction is, how I can help them. And so to be 90 seconds into meeting someone and already have a name and possibly like an email address for them and pull my phone, let me send a quick email for you. Boom. And so they're looking at me like, whoa, how'd you do that? So that's the fun part for me too, is I can do that. But the real value isn't necessarily in the, in the meet. You don't have to be able to do that. And in fact, the more I thought about it, the more I realized that contrary to the stereotype, the more reserved introvert type, the gold.
Green and gold can sometimes be a bit more reserved.
One of those, the organized one, it creates good systems.
Or
gold, yes. The gold type could actually be a more effective networker than the orange, who is the one who can go out and be like, hey, how you doing? I can go 3 networking events in a row and be looking for the 4th one. But it's the gold tendencies that make you really effective, because if you can remember and keep track of everyone you meet and who they're looking to meet and what they do and what value they offer, then you could be terrible at talking to strangers and still be an amazing networker. And that's the trick, is just don't talk to strangers. Just talk to people that you're introduced to and, follow those connections. But the thing about networking is what you see is the events. So when you go to an event, you see the orange types, you see the extroverts, you see the party animals. No, social butterflies, that's what it is. Going around, meeting all the people, and you're like, wow, look how good he's doing at networking. He's moving around and meeting a lot of people. But it doesn't mean anything's necessarily happening. It's just what you see. The real results come from a Zoom call, an email, a phone call, meeting in a coffee shop, all the things behind the scenes, like a lot of things in life. The real power comes behind the scenes, which you're not watching out there, but like the overnight success. who spent 2,000 nights getting to his overnight success. The real power of networking happens not necessarily at the events, but in the boring behind the scenes kind of stuff. And that's the stuff that a lot of people who say, "Oh, I don't want to network, it sounds awful," are actually better at. And they just don't realize it, and so they don't try.
That's a really good point. There's so many things I want to touch at in that. The first is, Darlene's throwing in, she's a blue. If people haven't heard of this before, something I introduced Michael to, and I use a lot is True Colors. It's just a personality typology. So we're talking, and what Michael's referencing is the idea that, your personality type might not be where you naturally feel extrovert and like you want to meet everyone, but there are different strengths to each personality type. And the power in networking is, I would say, actually just being able to cultivate your own strength. So if your own strength is, like yours, Michael, that it really is easy to be gregarious and meet people and have that big energy, use that big energy, and also know when to write a note so you remember who this person was. Same thing if you're a little bit more reserved, use that to your advantage, that you can be organized and also, put yourself out there a little bit. And like Michael's saying, really use those connections to introduce each other. You don't have to go up to every stranger.
Yeah. And the challenge is if you're just doing the outgoing meeting everyone thing, then you're going to be the best connected, most popular Uber driver in town. At least in my case, because I didn't have a system that actually made it do anything for me. I wasn't able to really effectively monetize it. I wasn't able to build any kind of business out of it until I finally figured out what systems and what niches I needed to feed that into. And whereas I feel, and of course, some of this I think might just be grass is greener. The grass is greener and golder on the other side. That it's a matter of like, well, I feel like if I was more organized, I probably would have monetized this earlier. But it's the lesson I'm sharing about this now is that I feel like it's those people who's the things they're strong at naturally that I'm learning to do are the ones who are like, oh, I can't network. I'm not good at networking. They're like, no, you're great at networking. You're just not doing it. If you did it, you'd be amazing. But you don't have to, you never even have to go to a networking event. And if you do go to networking events, then the key is simply to go there to give. Because I think a lot of people, it's uncomfortable because they're like, so let me get this straight. I'm going to approach a stranger and I'm going to tell them about what I do and then try to get them to either give me their money or introduce me to someone else who's going to give me their money. Ooh. And it feels gross because it's totally gross. It's a terrible way to network. But if you go in and instead say, I'm going to find a stranger, ask them what their problem or challenge is, and then figure out how I can help them solve it, either through an introduction or advice, well, that feels pretty good. And that's what's going to build your relationships and connect you to people and give that value. And then the last part of that is know who you need to meet to advance your agenda. Because yes, you're giving, but if you just give, you'll be the most popular, well-connected Uber driver in town. And nothing wrong with that. If you love driving Uber and you love networking and that's your life, great. You can make $30 an hour driving Uber and just go to networking events. Life is good. But if you want to do something other than that, then you really need some way to make sure that those connections actually turn into money, because you can't pay your bills with really good connections and being popular. I know.
If only.
Yeah.
I just got to say, first of all, thanks, Egbert. Be brave enough to fail at something new. That's a really good point. And it's not even fail, or it can be not just fail, but be brave enough to put yourself out knowing that it might not have the exact result that you want. This expectation is a dangerous thing. And Michael, I really like how you talk about, like I said, it's this generosity, because people do want to give back to people who gave something to them, right? I know that when I've had a networking meeting and someone's either mentored me or I was, they gave me a connection, I was like, oh my God, now I'm really racking my brain thinking, well, how can I support this person back?
Yep.
Also, Darlene, Michael, you mentioned earlier about getting emails at live events. Are you giving out business cards? Ooh, this is a good question.
Yes. Here are my business cards right here. I carry in my pocket all the time in my wallet. So yes, I use physical paper business cards. I don't give them out much because they're really hard to Here, Dylan, you want one of my cards? Just grab that through the screen there. No, it doesn't work that way. But yes, I am a strong proponent of business cards. This is more it's more in the field of pet peeve than really serious advice. But so what I said was sending an email. So like if I'm meeting you at an event and I realize there's someone that you should know, I'll often send the introduction right there because I'm gonna forget. Because the ADHD plus the orange tendencies, squirrel. So I do it right then, because if I don't do it right then, I forget. So I'll pull my phone out and be like, Darlene, meet Joe, send. But business cards are hugely important because I'm gonna forget. So if you give me your card and I want to introduce you to Susie, then I'm going to take your card. I'm going to write on the back, introduce to Susie. Or I have an email list where I send out all the networking events in the area every week. And so I'll write net list to remember to put the networking list in there. So I'll put all the notes of who you are and what I want to do with you or do for you, to you, whatever. Put that on the card. So because otherwise, if I just put the card in my pocket, then I'll probably send an email being like, great to meet you. Remind me who I promised to introduce you to. And if I don't have a card at all, it will be like we never met. Because that's just my sieve-like brain, that I need that physical thing. And so a lot of people are like, oh, I got a digital card, or you connect on LinkedIn or whatever. If I connect with you on LinkedIn, you're one of 4,000 people. There's nothing on LinkedIn saying, it might be there. I don't know where LinkedIn has like most recent connections, if it even has that. So if you're in my phone, there's a lot of stuff in my phone. I had a notification pop up that's something like, save RAM, you are running 109 applications right now. I'm like, I realized I had 109 applications. My brain's not the same way. But so like, you don't want to be in my phone. You want to be in my pocket. Because do I still have cards in my pocket? No, I actually finally went through the cards in my pocket. But I'll go to an event, the cards will go in my pocket, and I might get busy for a week. And then I'm like, oh shoot, I got all these cards in my pocket. And then I'll go through them and go through the notes. Okay, introduce this to this person, add this person to this list, put this person here. Without that card, gone. And whatever cool technology you think you have, it's not that cool because I'm not going to remember it. And now you could take my card and email me, but that still involves a card because you contacted me. But the cards very much still have their place because technology is not integrated enough to be useful yet.
When if I could bring up a maybe a deeper underlying point to what you're saying, whether it is business cards, because I also know people that say don't do business cards anymore, it's all digital. That's fine, but the important piece for either of those is that you follow up. So if digital methods are not successful for you to follow up, if you're not going on LinkedIn and finding, okay, well, these 5 people connected and now I'm going to do this and I have my notes on my phone, that's fine if you're doing that. Same thing, if you get a pocket full of business cards and never email any of those business cards, then don't get business cards and don't give out business cards, right? Like it's to me finding that strategy, and what you really talked about is follow up. Whatever it is you commit to doing, follow up.
And that's a great point too, that so giving out your business card does very little for you unless you're giving it to me. So on the one hand, yes, giving out your business card won't do a lot for you because most people won't follow up. On the other hand, if you're not carrying a business card, we might as well not talk because that's part of my system to be able to follow up and engage. And without that, I also point out a lot of people who are saying don't use business cards, do digital, sell digital. So always be careful of anyone telling you that this is obsolete because this is the new thing, because dollars to donuts, the new thing is something they get paid for. Everyone out there says
Michael, you don't sell physical business cards, do
you? No. Well, so I am set up with a printer so I can sell them, but it's not part of my business now. But when I published a magazine, a lot of people were like, "Print is dead." I'm like, no, it's not. It is a platform that serves a particular purpose. Direct mail can be very powerful because no one's using it. So if you open your mailbox and it's bills, letter, you're going to read the letter and be like, "Ooh, what's this?" And then you put it on your desk because you don't have any place to file it, so it sits there for 3 weeks because you're not used to getting letters. So that can be that can be effective. But no, they're important. But so what's more effective is not giving out your business card. It's getting other people's business cards. So when you get their card, now you can follow up with them. The point of having your card is so that you can reciprocate. When you take their card, you want to give something back. Because it always kind of has a pretentious vibe whenever someone says, I don't have business cards. I'm like, oh, well, look at you. You don't have business cards. Isn't that fancy? Because it all usually has that sense of like, I am in the future. We do not have business cards in the future where I came from. It's kind of like the way I talk about fax machines. You know, I joke when someone says, send me a fax. I'm like, I don't have a fax where I am. And they say, where are you? And I say 2022. But I'm completely being pretentious when I do that. But I feel like it's justified if we're talking about fax machines. They've kind of gone by.
Totally.
So
business
cards good, fax machines bad.
What you're touching on too, and I bring this back because this is part of my thing and part of the reason we connected so well, is also what you're doing, and why we do things like personality typology is recognizing that different people interact different ways. Mm-hmm. So by you having a business card, you are ready for all the Michaels in the world who want a physical business card.
Yep.
If you give it to a not Michael who does the digital thing, they'll recycle it.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but at the end of the day, you still have opened that option that you can connect with them in whatever their level and space is. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure I get in a question here because I think it's an important one for networking before we go too many more directions.
Yes, question.
With this generosity that we're doing, right? You meet someone, you want to give them leads and support them and really go from that stance. For people who are newer to networking, say they don't have a big network, or a lot of the people they're meeting, like, I just don't have those people. Mm-hmm. What do you recommend for that?
I'm going to answer that question with a story.
Great.
So shortly after I got to Groton, I knew about 20 people in the county of New London County, Connecticut. And I went to a chamber event. And at this point, I decided I'm going to be a connector. I only know 20 people, but I'm going to be a connector. I'm going to start asking people how I can help them. So the first person I met at the event was a real estate agent, a realtor. And I met a few other people, and I'd ask them, who can I introduce you to? Who are you looking to meet here? And the third person I met in the room, I knew two others and this person. The answer to their question, who are you looking to meet, was, I'm looking to meet realtors. Do you know any? And I said, well, do you know that one over there? And they said, I don't. I said, well, you're about to. And I made that connection. So 3 people in the room introduced one to the other. And you might hear that and be like, well, that sounds really lucky. But luck is where preparation meets opportunity. And if you actually do if you're a math geek and you do the statistics on what are the probability of that, it's actually surprisingly high, because a finite number of things someone might be looking for and a finite number of categories someone might be in. And so it's not entirely unreasonable that out of 3 people, 2 of them need to meet. I do a demonstration when I'm giving talks where I'll have someone stand up and I'll ask them, so who are you looking to connect with? Whether it's a name or an organization or a person, description, whatever, who are you looking for? And they'll say it. And they'll say, does anyone in the room, are you that person, or do you have a connection, a first degree connection to that person? And with audiences as small as 7, I have never had someone not find what they were looking for in the room. So chances are in your network, almost anything you're looking for, if you go 1 degree out, I mean, if someone's like, I want to meet Oprah, that's a different thing. But if someone's like, I want to meet a powerful mindset coach who can get me out of my funk, there's hundreds of them who are competent to do that. You don't just need Tony Robbins himself. You need someone who can do that kind of work. So if you start asking people, if you set that intention, I'm going to be a connector, I'm going to help people this way, and they ask you for something, you then take it as a mission. So first, do I know someone? If I do, make a connection, boom, easy. If they're in the room, even easier. But if not, you then go to your network and start saying, hey, Leah, do you know a good roofer in the town? Hey, Darlene, do you know a good roofer in the town? Hey, Egbert, do you know a good roofer in the town? And you go around, and 2 things are going to happen there. One is someone might say, oh, I do. Let me introduce you to them. Because, of course, you want to meet them before you refer them, most likely.
Yeah.
And 2, people are going to see you doing that and say, oh, it's not someone you need. It's someone else needs. That's kind of cool that you do that. Neat. And I actually used to do that, once I got a decent network going and could do it fairly readily. If I was having a bad day and feeling crummy and down on myself, it's like, I can't get anything right. Can't fix my problems. What if I could fix someone else's? I'd make a post on Facebook and I'd just say, hey, is there anyone, would anyone like an introduction? Who needs a connection to someone? I know a bunch of people. Put in the comments if I can help you. And generally I can help about 50% of them without, making it my life's work to do it. And I help people find jobs. I help people find clients. I help people find vendors and suppliers. And, I'd solve their problems. And oftentimes sometimes it was simple as someone posts something in the comments. I would take that request, repost it as a Facebook post, say, does anyone know this thing that someone just asked for in the last post? And someone else would comment and say, oh yeah, I can do that. And then I would tag them and boom, 2 Facebook posts, problem solved for somebody. And now, in my case, I used to feel better about myself, but I've helped someone with their problem, and it was sort of a mindset like, well, if I can't solve my problems, at least I can solve someone else's problems.
Yeah. Before we go in, because we're starting to get to the end, one thing I think is really important as we talk through this piece, and you mentioned briefly at the beginning, is make that balance of making sure you are also making your own ask as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how generous can you be? And also, because I know I could sometimes fall into this trap of give.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend for people, just as a quick tip to really help them make sure they're getting across something that they could be helped with?
I think it's actually fairly easy if you know what it is. This is always my problem of like, so what do I do? So, if you know what you do and you know who your audience is, so, for example, if you're looking for corporate leaders who are trying to build their teams and improve communications among their teams, for example, then whenever you talk to someone, after you ask someone, who can I introduce you to? Most people, not everyone, this is how you learn a little bit about them, most people will reciprocate with, who can I introduce you to? And I've had people who were clearly not networkers, and the way they worded this was, wow, that's so nice of you. I guess I should ask you, who can I help? How can I help you? Like, I was like they're trying something in a different language. Like, how do introduce you connect for? But they want to reciprocate. And so you may need to kind of hold their hand and be like, so I'm looking for people who have this job title in companies like this. Do you know anyone like that? Okay. Do you know anyone who might know someone like that? But if you're clear on what you're looking for, then you can clearly express it, and it'll generally come up. If you help them, they're going to want to reciprocate in some way. The other thing to watch out for is, like, if you're on a 30-minute call, watch the clock. If you're giving till the end of the call, then it's going to be kind of difficult to pull that one back and be like, by the way, I need something too. Although I've had calls where the call ended and they sent me a Facebook message and said, I'm so sorry I monopolized that thing. How can I help you? That's a next level networker. Most people aren't going to remember to do that. It's kind of hard to bring that up yourself. So if the call is time limited, make sure that you leave time for them to help you. But you could actually, no, I'm going to take that back. You could do a follow-up. Because, you could send them an email, a Facebook message, whatever, and say, it was great talking to you. I hope those connections really help out. I'd like to make them. By the way, if you happen to run into, or if you know any, or what, because they're thinking in their head, like, I don't think I did that right. That didn't feel right. I don't know what I did wrong, because I don't know how to network, but I feel like that was kind of one-sided. I wish I could return that somehow. I don't know how this works. So if you then say, hey, and by the way, if you happen to know anyone like X, Y, or Z, if you connect me, that'd be great. Then that helps them to help you, because most people want to help, they just don't know how.
Yeah, totally. Well, on that note, there's so many more things we could talk about, but that was fantastic. I do want you to have a quick chance to share about something exciting that's coming up.
Yes. You mean a summit of some kind?
Some sort of summit.
Like a networking summit that's around, like a global networking summit. Oh, I've got one of those on February 21st and 24th. So the Global Networking Summit is February 21st to 24th. We have 30 amazing speakers. Leah is one of them, if that gives you the idea of the caliber of speakers we have. So we have 30 speakers. So all that content is recorded interviews where I interview them, talk about everything from communication, mindset, sales, networking, of course, networking, it's the Global Networking Summit, marketing, all kinds of things like that. And then the really cool part, I mean, the speakers are really cool too. But the place where you can put this to work is that we're going to have live networking all 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the evening, Eastern time zone evening, afternoon in the West. And then on Thursday, the 24th, we are having the 24-hour around the world global networking event. So it doesn't matter where you are. It's your morning, afternoon, evening, night, whatever you like. Want to be convenient for everyone. And so what's really cool is all the events, all the networking events, all the recordings, and about, I think it's like $17,000 worth of gifts from our various guests. There's two coaches put like their entire coaching program in there. Their previous coaching program, they have a new one now, but they put their like whole program in a box in there. So it's over $10,000 of value you get for the $97 VIP ticket. Or you don't spend $97, you can see all the talks for free. And so there's no obligation there, but that VIP ticket is kind of bonkers at $97 for all that.
Sweet deal.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, obviously I'm going to be there. If you were watching today, you might have gotten a little bit of a sense that Michael knows what he's doing, and this would be an amazing opportunity to come network, learn how to network a little bit more confidently if that's something that would help you.
Mm-hmm.
And just thank you so much for being here today, Michael.
Yep. So can I give them a copy of my book?
Oh, yes. If you want to gift more, gift more.
So if you go to my website, guywhoknowsaguy.com, at the top is a little opt-in form. And when you opt in there, you'll get the Power 5 networking tips, which is my book distilled down to one page. You'll get a PDF of The Guy Who Knows a Guy, which is my book, this one right here. And then, because I have never once read an ebook I downloaded on the internet, you will also get the MP3 of the book where I read it. So while you're walking the dog or driving to work or whatever, you can, instead of reading the ebook, you can listen to me read the ebook to you and get everything from it. So if you enjoy learning about networking or just like the sound of my voice, go to guywhoknowsaguy.com and fill it out there, and you will get those gifts.
Amazing. And we're going to make sure the links for all of that are in the comments as well, so you can click on them. Don't have to go back and remember things. Is that, we're good?
That's all. No, I'm out of gifts. Sorry. The bag is empty.
Yeah, darn. Come on. Only like 5?
Yeah, just those 5.
Just those 5. Well, again, thank you so much for being here, Michael.
Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. And we hope to see everyone at the summit. Take care.